Welcome back to the 2 Months Podcast presented by Shadowfight Sauna Barbershop. I'm your host, Joshua Marshall, and my guest this evening, I guess it's early this morning, it'll come out later this evening, but he is the host of Inside Sports. He's also been a huge part of Oilers Now with Bob Stauffer, too, and you find him, around the Oilers rink, and you can find him on 630 Ched. He is the glue that keeps everything together at that station, as I would say. So we have Brenden Escott. Esky, how's it going, buddy?
Things are good, Josh. I really appreciate the chance to come back on and talk and to share a bit of my journey. This has obviously been one of the most exciting little stretches of my life, so I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. So it's pretty much a week in. You're going into week two now. You obviously done some hosting before when Stoff's away and all that, but kind of having your own show and a theme that you want to kind of follow and the content that you have too coming up. Like, how has the first week been? And then let's talk about like the road to this. Like, are you still kind of pinching yourself, being like, this is actually happening? I'm in this moment. How's that process going for you?
Yes, very much so. Well, it's interesting because obviously when there's hockey, we don't actually have the show. Well, I'll be at the rink doing other stuff. So I've only had two of them so far, and I thought
Hey,
that both of them went really, really well. Lots of fun introducing myself to the audience and just having a couple hours worth of a platform to tell these stories where I'll see the same person on the news, but Slav Kornick, for example, is limited to 2.5 minutes where he can tell that story. And myself in the long format talk radio setting, I get to do that over 15 or 20 minutes and explore somebody's whole background. And when I'm saying this, I'm thinking about our local boxing champion, Alexis Kubicki, who was on my second show. And she's from Slave Lake, trains in Edmonton now, and just won the WBC Junior World Championship out at the River Cree. But her whole background story is that of a 100 fight amateur champion, left in COVID to go live in Europe over that awful time, but was just anyway. Long story
yeah.
short, it's incredible stuff that we get to explore in this format now, as I say, and so it's it's truly an honor. And when I think about guys like Sid Smith, Reed Wilkins, Dan Tenser, who have come out of that program before, it's like a long-standing tradition of local sports talk that I get to be the next baton holder and sort of try and uphold that.
Yeah.
But you asked about the journey. I mean, my goodness, the talk radio aspect of this actually goes back to university in 2014 when I was doing my journalism degree, and most of that was predominantly print in the first place. So I'm learning how to do newspaper articles and like layouts of magazines and this type of stuff. And I wanted to be a broadcaster. It's so entertaining, and so I did a little bit of like play by play, and I had my own college radio show where I learned some of the lessons about over preparing and things. Like one of my funniest stories to me is I did so much prep, and it's like my second college show, and in about 20 minutes worth of the hour, we were done everything that I had prepared. So now I'm just deer in the headlights thinking, okay, what am I going to do on 92.5 the X for the next 40 minutes here? I hope I've got some music to play, which
Yeah.
is ultimately what I ended up doing, right? But it's these types of lessons that I look back on now and just kind of howl at, thinking, I guess I was teaching myself how to be a sports talk radio host even at that point. Now fast forward a decade and somebody trusts me with my own show.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool to see because it when in the names you mentioned before that we're doing that are legendary names in the community in the city, right? And in terms of paving their way to getting you an opportunity to kind of do the same. So one thing I like was wondering about too is because it's inside sports, so obviously there's heavy Oiler talk or anywhere you're gonna go, but you're so big into college football and NFL. Are you going to adapt into that kind of world too and bringing that onto your show if you've already done it before yet?
Yeah, 100%. Because
Yeah,
I think there's a market for that, right?
correct.
And to be honest, I even look around at what 1440 is doing with their Fox Sports Radio thing that they do in the evening, and Edmonton Sports Talk does a lot of that sort of stuff. There's no reason why our market isn't interested in it. I'm interested in it as a
Correct.
consumer of sports. I'm sure you are
Yeah.
too. So there's no reason why we can't incorporate that. And so I don't want to put on an American style talk show. We live in Canada. So who are the Canadians that are having success down in the States? How do we highlight those stories? This is the type of thing, I guess, where my focus shifts to now. But absolutely, NFL, college football, passion projects like these types of things, even Major League Baseball, for what it's worth. We have a thriving baseball program in our city that every
Yeah.
summer seems to blow us away with the amount of attendance that they get and that sort of thing. So I want to piggyback off of the momentum that they're generating and again be able to drag that over the airwaves.
Yeah, and obviously still keeping in line or in touch and up to date with the CFL too. It's it's a league that's gonna keep growing here, and I think with the demographic that we can get, like obviously our age, like I know I'm a little bit older than you, but I'm more of an NFL guy. But listening to you, like you have a following, so I think that's what's cool about it. Is your following can carry over from what it was at Oilers now, which you're still going to be a part of, but that following can carry over, and you highlighting the Canadian side of the stories. Your fans, your listeners are going to want to listen to that because they want to listen to your perspective of that conversation of what you see in these young athletes coming up through these programs. So I think that's really really cool that you're doing that. So yeah, Tony Barr, obviously a really close friend of yours. So how was that experience and having him on and being a part of your show and your inaugural show and just the stuff that you guys can go back and forth with and advice and support and the opportunity to that you guys have been given here in this city to kind of be the faces of this new demographic coming up in hockey and touching on good topics and touching on like the most positive things happening in this community. Because look at this Oilers team; they're buzzing right now too, right?
Yeah, I appreciate that a
Yeah,
ton,
yeah,
and it's really special. I know we've talked a little bit before about our my relationship with Tony and just how nice it is for me to have somebody not only just in the same age group, we are literally graduated from the same program at the same time. We have done this in lockstep together, entering our seventh year working on the Oilers in whatever capacities that we have been. Uh, it's amazing, and to know that I've got somebody that I can dial up and the conversation just flows so naturally, not only when we're talking about things that we've experienced together, but then we flip the script and we're starting to talk about hockey, and it's like, holy smokes, now we're really engaged. We're really going shot for shot. And I know when I get a text from my old man, he's
yeah,
saying, yeah, you guys could have a show together. This sounds so good. That's the most rewarding thing in the world. So
yeah.
it's because it's fewer and further between, and there's lots of kids coming up now. I would say guys like Preston Hodgkinson and Avery Lewis McDougall and the Finn Marco. These guys are starting to take the average age, I guess, of the reporting circuit down quite a bit, and so now I'm feeling like a little bit more of a leader in this sense. But to be there with Tony, again, the comfortability level that I have because of that, and it just allows me to operate a little bit more freer, I think. So I figured, with that all said, who better to bring on to the inaugural show and have them in studio and just shoot the
Yeah.
breeze and that sort of thing, and talk a little bit about our journey to get to where we are, because it's fun to reflect on, and I hope that there's people out there that um, can find that element of a success story in this. Like, it's a pretty bleak industry at times, but that doesn't mean that it can't be somewhere where you do find that sort of success or happiness or whatever it is that one is searching for with this. So
Yeah.
when people come out and they're asking for advice and that kind of thing, it's always nice to be able to highlight that relationship with Tony too.
Oh yeah, 100%. He's such a good guy and has a good perspective on a lot of things as you do too. So let's move over to some NHL stuff. Obviously, let's go out east with the Bruins. It's the biggest topic right now. What's going on there? Cam Neely's comments yesterday about they have $64 million of reasons why Swayman, I guess, should be in camp. Obviously, Lewis Gross downplayed that, and that was news to them as 5 o'clock rolled out yesterday around dinner time. Um, where do you see this kind of moving along? Do you see this, making this relationship stronger, or is this broken the relationship and we're probably going to have to brace for Jeremy Swayman trade here?
I can't believe that it's gotten to this point when you're talking about that organization, and it seems like they're almost not used to getting pushback in Boston. I feel like they're used to it's our way or the highway, and in this circumstance, Sway is trying to say, "I want it my way." Now I get it. He's the only option there right now. They've traded Linus Ullmark to Ottawa. So the bargaining chips, the power you would think kind of rely or fall to the Swayman camp. But again, I've never heard a general manager or president, or I'm not even sure what role Cam Neely fills there, but to come out and say what they've tabled as an offer, and then to have later in the day that come out and say, well, actually, that was never discussed. So we're going to collect our things and think about this. Like that is, I don't want to call it unprecedented, Josh, but this is insane to me. So
Yeah.
the fact that this is happening with a week to go before the season, does he end up in Detroit? Really, what you're going to have to do is look at teams that have any sort of draft capital that are going to be able to make a trade if there is a trade to be made here, because Swayman is going to require a king's ransom in return, regardless of the fact that their relationship has gotten as tumultuous as it has. So I don't know. I saw some Canucks fans out there thinking that they might be able to offload a former Boston goaltender in Thatcher Demko. Not the Bruins, of course, but at the university level. I don't see that happening. I don't know what I see happening here, to
Yeah.
be honest, but it's really hard to imagine him starting game one unless Boston is willing to, I guess, overpay him as sort of an apology. And I don't get the sense of the front office that that's going to happen at all. So we're going to be twiddling our thumbs quite hard here for the next few days. But this is something that could alter the franchise of Boston, because what do you do if Jonas Corposalo is suddenly your number one goalie? You better hope the team in front of him is playing awfully good.
Yeah, there's so many different ways to look at it. So one way to look at it is, Kate, Cam Neely just said $64 million reasons. So if Swayman still signs and it's not 64 and it's 66, it's 70 million. It's obviously, he won the negotiation process, which makes the organization look bad that you already opened up the cards to the public. Now we know that any other player probably going there can just maybe strong arm them and get them. So I don't see how he stays there. Also, is that like quote unquote a fireable offense? I know with the TSN overdrive guys, like they talk about it a lot with this fireable offense. Like, would that be like just frustration, like emotion getting in the way? Because obviously we've seen the GM Sweeney call it the spitting on yourself podcast because Biz and Wit, posted what they said during the summer. And then, 3 weeks later, when training camp starts, the GM is like, frustrated that the player's not there. And, he kind of shoots off in a way about a podcast. So, and then you got, a week later, the president of hockey operations is doing the same thing. It's kind of tough to see how that sees fit. I know Elliot Friedman did an article last night at sportsnet.ca saying, that I think it looks like we're heading into a direction where a trade is happening right now. So I just kind of wonder how that process is going to go because like you said, I agree with you. In Boston, it's like this is the deal. This is the way we do things, and we don't talk about it publicly. You sign here, and then we move on, and everyone's happy. To get to this point, it's crazy. I wonder, do you think any of this has to do with the fact that how that arbitration case went, Brendan, last year with Swayman, where he was doubted on a lot of things. There was we obviously know these arbitration cases could be quite tough on players at times. Do you think maybe that's where the break in the armor was already happening, and we should have been seeing this from afar happening, where it is a surprise, but maybe it shouldn't be. I don't know where you stand on the arbitration case that happened last year with him.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think that anybody that's got to go sit in front of their boss and have their boss tell them all the reasons why they're not worth the money that they say they are worth, that's got to be a pretty demoralizing thing. And even here in Edmonton, we've seen instances such as Darnell Nurse taking a bridge deal, Evan Bouchard's doing the team a favor, taking a bridge deal. And then it comes time for the team to pay the piper. And then it comes time for that $9.25 million contract or whatever it's going to be for Bouchard, for example.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that there's an element of, hey, I did you guys a favor by not taking all the money I thought I was worth at this point in time. But then we turned around and we won the Jennings trophies, and this is what I'm capable of doing. So I'm not going to charge you $10 million like Shesterkin is in New York, but I'm going to charge you what I think I'm worth now. And what's interesting to me, Josh, is that Frank Cervalli said on our show last night on Oilers Now that they're only about $500,000 apart. That Swayman came in at 8.5 million, and the Bruins came in at 8. If we're going to lose this quality of player over $500,000, uh, I don't know what to say about that. Like maybe you didn't deserve to keep him in the first place.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's the story will keep going as it always has in the last week. You know, we're going into week 2 of it, so yeah, it'll keep moving along. Let's move over to the Oilers. Obviously, a big shootout win last night against the Canucks. You know, how do you see things shaping out? Obviously, maybe not too many roster spots up for grabs in up front. If anything, it's the fourth line center. I think Noel Phillips done a really good job in earning that opportunity. The back end will probably be a lot of moving parts as you know maybe the first month until maybe they get some guys a little bit more comfortable within and you know Nurse gets playing and all that kind of stuff goes there. But where are you at with the Oilers and how their training camp's gone so far? Is it underwhelming? Is it just training camp? We're not too worried. This team will be fine once the season gets going later this month.
Yeah, it's one of those years where there's so few roster spots up for grabs. It's kind of an unusual circumstance that we're looking at right now. But you said it, the fourth line center role. If it wasn't for the third shot, or pardon me, the third D pair right shot,
Yeah,
the fourth line center would be the topic of camp, and particularly because Noah Philp has played so well and staking a claim to it. And uh, I look for size. I look for that dimension probably as a penalty killer more so than anything else. And I look for your ability in the faceoff dot. He's checked all three of those in multiple games over. And I get that he's only playing against preseason competition, but Philp has really shown oil country something here in these last several weeks. So I don't know that he's going to crack the team out of camp. I really don't. I think that that would be one hell of an achievement for a guy who didn't play last year. I think the easy thing for the team to do is to get him some more seasoning at the AHL level, get him playing 18, 20 minutes a night, and if anything else, just build the cardio back up to where a game shape should be. Because you could do, I imagine, all the dry land training that you want, but there's something to be said about playing in an actual game environment, not a preseason game, but like when the chips are down.
yeah.
So I see probably a handful of games where Derek Ryan is going to start at fourth line center. Injuries happen over the course of a season, and maybe we've gone from James Hamblin being the first call up to now Noah Philp having genuinely staked a claim to that over what's been a wildly impressive training camp. Maybe Josh, it's been so impressive because we didn't know what to expect for a player coming off of a year away. But I know that Bob Stauffer has been singing this kid's praises since the second half of the year that he did play in the American Hockey League, where he was tearing it up down there. So something clicked for Noah, and they're hoping to capture this. He's 26 years old. He's not really a rookie
No.
by that measure, but I think that that maturity is going to help him. And he just looked to constantly be embracing the things that you want that bottom six kind of forward to do. So I think this will be a big piece of Edmonton, maybe not right away, but as the season grows older.
And he's free. He's a free asset. He wasn't
Yep.
just a kid that you kept an eye on. Your scouts kept an eye on, and someone went out to vouch for him. Maybe it was Stoffer, who
It
knows?
was
But
probably Stauffer.
yeah, exactly. So, and Stoffer will tell us there will be Stoffer.
He will.
Yeah. So, but yeah. Anyways, we'll see how that process goes for sure, and all the best to him is it also says something too, taking a year off from the best league in the world, and him finally saying, okay, I'm going to take care of my mental health, I'm going to take care of whatever's been bothering me. Doing that, there's some appreciation to that, and any fan will clamor to that in a great story. We've seen it with Oliver Shillington, Patrick Laine obviously got hurt, so that was probably a story that everyone was cheering for as well too. But yeah, over the years, Connor Ingram, I even think he won the Bill Masterson Award for the perseverance and dedication to the game, and about his by having bipolar or what he was fighting with and overcoming, and so it's kind of cool, and I think it's a story that a lot of kids can clamor to in terms of being like, well, he went through it, so I went through it, I can get back too. So I think there's a little bit of an extra part of that story that I think a lot of people will enjoy. You know, let's move over quickly to the Flames. So let's stick with the Oilers on the back end. Where are you at with the right D pairs? How, like, besides Bouchard, how do you see the rest shaping out with Brown, with Stetcher, with Emberson? Is it kind of Emberson and then Stetcher and then Brown, and Brown will be your seventh. Like, where are you shaping out there? And is does Travis Dermott earn an opportunity to sign here? I know they released Hoffman yesterday on his PTO, but I think Dermott's still in camp as of now. But where are you at on the back end?
Yeah, we'll have to put the caveat out that there's cuts coming in between the time that we record this and the time that it comes out. I don't anticipate that Dermott will be one of those. If he is, they got as long a look at him last night as was possible. They played him the most minutes of any defenseman. I think he's been good, but not remarkable. And I don't know if they needed him to play remarkable to get a chance at making this team. I don't know if he would be okay signing an American Hockey League deal and going to round out some of the depth down there. But even as it stands, I've really liked what I've seen out of Ben Gleason and Cam Dineen since they've been at camp. So I'm not sure where Dermott would fit, even on the minor leagues. But
Level.
as far as the right side goes, yeah, I think you pretty much pegged it there. I see Emberson getting the first and longest look alongside Nurse. He's got that 2022-23 American Hockey League Eastern Conference Defensive Player of the Year. And I've been saying since, we kind of started to learn more about this kid, if you're a defenseman that understands how to play in your own zone, that is half the battle of becoming an NHL player right there. So it's not like he's coming up with this great offensive skill set and then having to figure out how to play in his own end. He gets the defensive angles. So he'll be there. He'll be penalty killing, and I think that that's going to earn him well, it's going to earn him a lot of opportunities to succeed or fail. So hopefully it goes in the right direction for the Oilers. And more so than anything else, I'm wondering how he complements Darnell Nurse because we saw what we all know exactly what Matthias Ekholm means to the success of Evan Bouchard. I wonder if you plunk a really defensive minded, safe kind of partner next to Darnell Nurse, what that might unlock in the 29-year-old who has the offensive talent. It got him paid, but we haven't really seen a whole lot of that kind of thing. He's maybe trying too hard not to play outside of himself or something like that. So that excites me a lot. Third pair, to me, it's Stetcher and Kulak right now. Josh Brown is he's a spot duty guy, right? Like I think we all understand that analytically he doesn't defend especially well, but what he does do, and he took the unsportsmanlike penalty last night during a commercial break. Um, but he took that penalty because somebody was going after one of his top players that was dressed, and he had no time for that. He was going right back at the Vancouver Canucks, ended up in the box. And people are saying to me, well, if the highlight of his game is taking a penalty, then he's no good. Fine, but that's what he's there to do, is to be a policeman, and he was policing in that situation. So I don't necessarily mind that, but that's probably your seventh defenseman. Troy Stetcher's compete level is off the charts. I have loved this player, not like enamored by him, but I've loved his compete level since he was a Vancouver Canuck way back when I lived in BC. And I love he just never seems to want to lose the play. If he loses his position, fine, but the compete level to get back to where he needs to be is always there. Made a beautiful exit pass out of the zone, so he's got, some offensive prowess in that sense. He's not an offensive guy,
Yeah.
but I think he'll be able to hold his own down there. So it's going to be a lot in flux game to game. I would imagine you're probably going to see spells of that, spells of Stetcher and then spells of Brown. And I don't see either guy really playing a full 50 games or 60 games by any means, but you're going to have a quality rotation through there. And hopefully the team in front of Skinner is playing well to really make it easy on the goaltender, but it's a goaltender who's another year older and wiser as well and might be in a better position to help out on some of those defensive lapses.
Yeah, I think he's going to get a lot of experience too. In terms of the Four Nations face off, I think he'll be,
Yeah.
if he's not the starter, I think he's definitely on that roster in some which way. With being around that group and that experience, I think that's going to bode well for him going forward. Obviously, what he just went through in the Stanley Cup final, another year of development, another year of seeing something interesting in terms of a tournament like that. Maybe he's the guy that wins it for Canada, and then you have that confidence going into a long season and like the second half of the season into a long playoff run. That can only bode well in my opinion for him, because I think he's if not one of our best goaltenders in Canada. We're talking about all these great goalies in Russia and Sweden and the U.S., but I think right now, Skinner's kind of proven that he's been able to kind of carry this load. I think he's answered some questions. If anyone doubts him, you doubt him again. I don't know if you're watching the right game, because I think he's done a good job of holding his own, in my opinion. Like, he's still young. You're still going to have some growing pains for sure, but taking to a team to a game seven Stanley Cup final, it's a pretty good thing. I know that you want to win it, but he was there, and it was that close for them. But we'll move over to the Flames, who are probably not going to be a couple years away from anything like that. It's probably going to be the turns of their new arena when that gets built for maybe some playoff hockey. But maybe it'd be nice to see them play at least one more playoff run in the dome. But I was there last night. They look good. They look confident. It was another win. They pulled it out in overtime. It was the first time they used Kuzmenko on the 3-on-3 surface of a power of a overtime, and his pass to Kadri backdoor was good. I think there's some good storylines happening in Calgary. I don't know how much you've been able to see. I know there's the split squad game here in Edmonton too, and then the Penticton tournament and whatnot. But what's your expectations for the Flames this year, Brendan? And do you think there's a chance that they could be the 2014-15 team from years ago, where they were the comeback kids and they had a younger group and they were able to kind of surprise some people? Or do you see some heavy growing pains here? Because it looks like they might even be going with a 3 goaltender rotation going into the season too. So
I do wonder about that,
yeah,
because Dustin Wolf is the goaltender of the future, but is the future right now? I'm not sure. And then if it's not, is Dan Vladar going to be able to carry the mail? But the questions obviously go well beyond the crease in that circumstance. So I just, from an outsider's perspective, I look at a young team that has set things up to now rebuild. It didn't work out in terms of them being able to carry over from the Goudreau and the Kachuk era with the trade that brought Huberdeau in, and Kadri can't really do it on his own. He's not that offensive of a player. So um listen, I do honestly see a bounce back from Huberdeau somehow.
yeah,
I think he will.
he was
uh,
moving good last night. So yeah,
well,
yeah,
good, because this
need
rivalry is a lot better when it's firing on all cylinders, as we know. But with the amount of draft capital that they've been accruing there, I know Craig Conroy's made a point of that. It absolutely does look like they're building towards the time when that arena is ready to pop, just like it did here in Edmonton, and everything since then has been trending in a really positive direction. I think the Calgary is making incredibly wise moves for the future, but what that means for this year is they're going to be battling hard, very hard, for a playoff spot, and it's not going to be one of the top three in the Pacific. It's going to be one of the wild card spots, and probably the second one at best. Now, listen, if Dustin Wolf comes and stands on his head and puts up a rookie of the year kind of campaign, I'm all for that. I would love to see that for Calgary. That was just exciting. He's done it at every other level. What's to say that he couldn't do it at this level too? He's already had some of the growing pains worked out from last year, and having a cup of coffee and that sort of thing. So yeah, I genuinely am excited about that. And I'm trying to think, who are some of the other youngsters that are going to be sort
Yeah,
of littering the
obviously,
lineup this
yeah.
year.
Sam Honzik is looking really good right now. He scored a beautiful goal last night, and turnstile Vince Dunn, who is a hell of a defenseman. Anyone would say that they would take a Vince Dunn on their team. So it was a shorthanded goal that he scored. Made a nice move and turned him inside out. There's still Pelche still on the fence there. Connor Zary had a good year last year. Can he continue
Yeah,
that? Adam Klaka's another guy. Prospel's another guy. Um,
I love
Got
Prospel.
Miramanoff. Yeah, what's that?
I love Prospel. He's a
Yeah,
pain in the ass to
yeah,
play against. He's a
yeah,
big body. I know he's got some concussion history and that sort of thing, so you don't often see him dropping the gloves, but he is in every situation, every skirmish after the whistle. I look at him, and when the Oilers play him, it's like, get this son of a bitch out of here. But when I see him playing other teams, that's a guy I want on Edmonton. Like,
Mhm.
he is wicked.
Yeah.
And
He's
Coronado was another name too. He
that was
had one of the goals in that Edmonton game, and what a shot on
yeah.
that kid is all I can say.
Yeah, and he played pretty good last night too. So it was a weird game. They had 6 minor penalties in a row. At one point, they had 3 guys in a box. It was a 5-on-3 for some time, but they were able to weather that storm. But it's a storyline to watch, and obviously on the back end, we'll see how that shapes up. With if Anderson gets moved, it's kind of like you can like the sense we got in the press box is that Anderson's given us Lindholm vibes in terms of being, you know, like, hey, you just drafted Zane Parekh, you got Hunter Biskevich on the back end, you got these two nice right shot defensemen that can move the puck. That's kind of what you do. You know, I got 2 years left in my deal. Is a deal to be had this year for him to, you know, make room for those guys in the future, because they have a lot of right shot defenseman. Obviously, Tyson Barrie's there on a PTO. It was the first time, and Tyson told us after the game, it was the first time he has played left defense since junior. So his whole NHL
Wow.
career, he's always played on the right side. You know, the odd time a shift here, a shift there, but you know, for a full game last night, he played the left side with Brenden Escott on the third pairing. He had 2 assists. He played good. You know, it was Tyson Barrie came as advertised, got a point on the power play, and then you know, had a nice 5-on-5 assist too. So we'll see how that shapes up there. But they do still have a lot of defensemen in the mix too. So I think they go to Winnipeg here, and then they come back and play Winnipeg, and that's how they close it out. But I don't know. They'll probably send a younger roster, maybe Tyson Barrie to Winnipeg, and then rest some veterans. Michael Backlund didn't finish the third period, so we'll see how that goes. See if that's a storyline to follow. If you know, as injuries have been happening, but yeah, they got a good. I think they got a good group there. They're building for a good future down the road, and you know, you never know. You could surprise some people. You know, the Pacific Division is still a tough division. You know, Vegas did all their moves last year. They didn't do much this year.
Yeah.
So with a, you know, a training camp and some, you know, familiarity with them, will they, you know, kind of be able to, you know, get back to where they were? The Oilers are the class of the division right now, and then see what the Canucks do too. So, and then I think the Kings losing Drew Doughty, that could be a tough loss for them. I don't know where you're at with the Kings in terms of that there.
They're in a tough spot anyway. I think I don't really believe much in their goaltending at this
Yeah,
juncture. You know, I think they lost Matt Roy on the back
did.
end, which is a bigger loss than people give credit for. He's in Washington now. And then, yeah, you say the injury to Doughty. Do we have a timeline on that yet? It's going to be,
It's
I'm sure, months, right?
January is the latest he could come back right now. So, and that was, I think you'll probably hear that tonight on Oilers Now with I think Elliot Freeman does Tuesdays hits with you guys
Yep.
now. So I think, and that was his report on his podcast on Friday. That it looks like it'll be January-ish around that time for a
So
return for him. So yeah,
that's their emotional leader. As much as to me as Anze Kopitar does for that franchise, Doughty is the guy who's out there mixing it up, dragging other dogs into the fight, that sort of thing. So LA is going to be hard pressed, and if you're looking at it now in the Pacific, it's pretty much a three dog race with Vegas, Edmonton, and Vancouver as to which of these teams is going to be able to sit on top of the throne by season's end. And the betting favorite would be Edmonton, I would suggest. We'll see what happens with Vancouver. I like the team. Their goaltending situation is dinged up,
yep,
and when you've got Kevin Lankinen in to try and be a solution to things, and you're finding yourself in some hot water for sure.
yep.
But we'll see what they're able to overcome. I do really like Rick Tocchet as a coach.
Yeah, same here. All right, Brenden. Well, enjoy the rest of the day. You know, have a great call tonight. A great, you know, obviously, I think you'll be doing some more of their now stuff, and then your show tonight. So, do you have it? Who do you have booked in for your show tonight for people that are going to be tuning in? This might come out later in the afternoon, so maybe people will listen to this and they'll go to your show. But who do you have booked for on docket tonight on Inside Sports
We're
from
gonna
what, 6 to 8, I believe? Is that the time?
6 to 8. You
Okay.
got it. Yeah, we're a fluid show right now, but
Okay.
I will say we're going to talk Elks 100%. They came up short in Winnipeg. We will talk hockey 100% as well, and yeah, we'll go from there. But it's always a lot of fun, and the listener engagement is where we make our hay. So
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, enjoy the rest of the day. Enjoy the rest of the week, and all the best this season. And we'll catch up with you again very soon. So thanks for everything, and appreciate you joining us on the 2 Months podcast today.
my pleasure. Thanks for having me back.
All right. Perfect.